a time, we're living through a time of unprecedented change, really fast-paced change for all of us, all sorts of changes in terms of freedom of movement, where we work, who we're spending our time with. We can't see friends and family because we're locked down in our houses. There's lots of things we can't do that we would normally do. We can't do things that that would normally be part of our routines, like maybe in terms of exercise and well-being, going to the gym or going swimming. I mean, lots of things. We can't go to work. We're working from home. Many people have been been furloughed, and there might be some redundancy. So lots of changes. And of course, we're not able to see our loved ones who we're not living with because we're in lockdown. So this is it's a time of great uncertainty and anxiety, which is normal. Anxiety is a normal response to these difficult changes. And these losses to our lives, there are a number of losses that we're experiencing, as I mentioned earlier, to our lives. I mean, I would say that loss and change is part of everyday life, normal life. As we go through our lives, there's a lot of losses and changes. For example, the child grows into an adolescent, there's some changes there, a loss of childhood status, loss of the childhood activities, the parental relationship changes with their child and the child with the parents. But there are also some gains as we, I suppose, enter the adolescent. Well, there will be some gains as the adolescent enters adulthood. The same with, sometimes it doesn't seem like that at the time, but there may be a huge loss if we're made redundant or unemployed. There may be some gains at some point in the future. So we're constantly balancing loss and change. So it's important to sort of, in order to come to terms with that and with what's happening, in order to sort of make sense of what's happening, it's really important to think about it and be aware of it. And that can really help. So lots of losses, and there may be some gains as well, and lots of change, which is part of normal life, as I mentioned. It is part of life, but it's not easy. It causes a lot of anxiety, especially at the fast pace that we're experiencing changes today and uncertainty.
So what I was hearing you say there is that we are used to change and to loss, but the current situation is bringing such a speed of change and losses in so many areas of our lives, and that my words, but something about how we need time and space to process, and that it's important to think about what's happening for us, to reflect on it, I think is what I was understanding you to say. And so, yes, how best to support ourselves is therefore a big question, I guess.
Yes, I think what's really important in terms of supporting ourselves is treating ourselves with kindness, with compassion, being patient with ourselves, being patient with ourselves, because this is an unprecedented time. This is not an easy time. It's challenging for all of us, for everybody. It can help to think about the fact that most people are experiencing these similar emotions to different degrees, that we're not alone. This is not only a national crisis, but also an international one. Everyone is struggling with the same issues. But what's really important is to be kind with ourselves, to be patient with ourselves, to practice good self-care, to be aware of taking good care of ourselves. Now, whether that means from eating healthily to doing some exercise every day, to taking time to relax, taking some time for relaxation, to doing things that we enjoy. I think that's very important, to find the little pleasure and joy we can find in our everyday lives. I know our lives are restricted. We can't go to the cinema, theatre, to meet friends, to go traveling, but maybe to think about which films or TV shows we enjoy, or which books we might enjoy, what food we like, or to have a bath, it's relaxing, to bond with those we're with if we are with other people, or to connect with others we may not be with. So I think what's really important is to be aware of three elements that make our lives sort of more balanced, and they are achievement. So trying to achieve something every day, having some sort of goal and trying to achieve something, whatever that may be, having a bit of a plan. And also enjoyment, so as I mentioned earlier, trying to do something that we enjoy, really focusing on what do we enjoy, what makes us feel happy or relaxed for a few minutes. Maybe something creative. A lot of people have found they're spending time, doing creative things, rediscovering some of their creative things they used to love doing, whether it's painting, drawing, knitting, baking, whatever that may be. So that's important: enjoyment, achievement, and connection. You know, as human beings, we are social beings, and connecting with others is really important for us. So connecting with those we might be isolating, quarantining with, spending some time with them, or connecting remotely online with our other friends and family, doing activities together, whether that's quizzes or watching films together or having a book club, or just regularly meeting for a coffee or a drink or eating meals together. These three things are very important for our well-being. So again, good self-care, taking good care of ourselves, but being kind and patient to ourselves. Maybe limiting the amount of time we watch the news if that's causing anxiety, just limiting that to maybe once a day or less. Maybe if we're spending lots of time worrying, putting some time aside to worry, deciding that we're only going to worry for half an hour at the end of the day at some point. We're not going to think about things, think about the future if that's causing us worry at other times. We're going to try and focus on the present, trying to spend more time and maybe being in the present, maybe doing some mindfulness or relaxation, something like that. So that's very important in terms of supporting ourselves.
So I heard you say there about being kind and compassionate with ourselves, and also thinking about three things. What one is achievement, that we can achieve something each day, find the things that we enjoy, and also making sure that we're connected, and then also to take some sort of specific steps, such as limiting our exposure to the news. Obviously, whilst we're thinking about looking after ourselves, there's also the issue that what do we do if we have friends and family that aren't coping?
It's very difficult. It's very worrying. What I would also say is it's important. I would sort of normalize the anxiety, and I would say this is a normal, healthy reaction, natural reaction to the current situation, the current very uncertain, frightening situation. So if our loved ones, if we know people who are finding it difficult to cope, I mean, I think what's important is to be there for them. If we can listen to them, that could be remotely on the phone or online, to listen to their anxieties, to be there for them. It could also be possible to suggest them contacting a therapist, and that can be very helpful. Therapists will be very confidential. Obviously, therapy sessions are confidential. The therapist is outside of our life situation, non-judgmental. We don't have to worry about their feelings. So they can speak to a therapist, but for us to be there for people and to listen to them, to reassure them, to listen to them, to be there, maybe to suggest some of the things we just talked about that can help supporting ourselves. Maybe if we find something helpful, we can do this with our friends and family who are very anxious, finding they can't cope. Obviously, there are professional services out there. There are helplines. There are hospitals and doctors, but there are also websites like Mind, and there are many other helplines out there that can help. But being there for people, doing activities with them, checking in maybe daily, contacting them, maybe suggesting things, setting up book clubs or film clubs together to keep people busy, and doing things together, I think, will be really important.